And listen to where you think the first place of movement is. As you breathe in, where does it start? Where do you feel it? Or as you breathe out, and come back to this image of the inside of your spine. Remember, we started today with this Linklater's idea of a channel for sound. And the channel for sound, you think of the vertebral bodies or your inner shape, and follow that from low down up through your middle, through your throat, feeling the space inside your throat. And just maybe as a beginning, so we can follow how things change, if you were to now lying here like that, like you are, without any effort to be loud or manipulate in any way, just allow yourself to make a very easy humming sound with your mouth closed. So and feel where you feel the vibrations inside. Where you feel the sensations inside, in the hum. And if it feels that there's any place where the sound doesn't pass, or if you do something to interfere with the sound when you do the humming, and listen to the resonance. With your lying like that with the mouth closed, you can really sense the vibrations inside yourself. So the voice is very much a sensory experience. And then bend your knees and put your feet standing. And leave the sound now. And make a very simple movement of taking your weight down toward your tailbone, letting your lower back come a little bit away from the floor, and then, like because you've all done pelvic clock before, we would say 6 o'clock as a reference, or at least the way I do pelvic clock, the tailbone is 6 o'clock. And then push a little bit with your feet the other way, so the lower back goes more into the floor, which would be 12 o'clock. And keep on doing that very, very simple movement, rocking the pelvis between the 6 o'clock and the 12. But this time think that it's not just taking the lower back into the floor, but it's also generating a push through the feet that will travel through your spine toward the top of your head. So it's not just lower back going backward, but it goes a little bit, it's almost diagonal. It goes a little bit back and then toward the top of the head. And then as you go down toward your tailbone, there's a kind of pull through the spine. And in both cases, the back of your head is rocked on the floor a little bit. And in this movement, make it just a little simpler, maybe a little faster, like a little bit more like oscillating. See if you can let the belly go. And try to be aware if there's any break in continuity of the sensation from your upper spine to the space inside the throat. In other words, does that part of the channel feel open or related to the rest of the spine or not related? How do you feel it? And then oscillating like that, again, make the humming. As if the oscillation is going to help the sound bounce around inside. You can feel it in different parts. Six o'clock and 12 o'clock. And feel the sound in your abdomen, in your chest, maybe in your face. So you're pulling through the feet and then you're pushing through the feet. And then find out what happens if you open your mouth at a certain moment and allow the sound to come out through the mouth. So you go, ma, and you open the mouth. No, it doesn't have to be a fancy sound or a big sound, but at a certain moment you decide to open your mouth and let the sound come out. And then again, you close the mouth and you say, and it's very, very interesting in that moment. With the mouth closed, it's much easier to feel that the sound can be free. So we're studying something now about our habits, about what is it that we do that doesn't help, that interferes. For most people, there's some habits they have that when you open the mouth and the sound comes out, or maybe not, maybe it's completely free. I don't know. Find out what happens with you. Is there some kind of pulling back in the jaw or pulling back in your tongue? How do you let the mouth open? Is there a difference between the freedom of the sound with the mouth open or closed? And you can think that the vibrations go forward when you open the mouth toward the ceiling. Good. Now, leave that for a moment. Leave the sound. There's already a lot of. You're starting at a pretty free place, I think, from all the work we've been doing this segment. So it's a good. We're a little bit ahead of the game. Okay, rest. Just rest. Well prepared. As you can hear in the room, that there's a lot of resonance with the sound coming out. Listen to your breathing. And then bend your knees again. And this time, do the opposite pattern of the head and the pelvis. So, well, we didn't say what the regular pattern was. So a few times, you let your lower back go into the floor, you push through the feet, and feel that in this situation, now go slow, and that the chin will go away from the chest, isn't it? When you take your lower back into the floor, there's a push through your spine, the pressure of the back of the head on the floor changing, and the chin going a bit away from the chest. And when you go down toward your tailbone, there's a kind of pull with the chin drawing closer. That's, for most people, that's the kind of habitual way that the movement organizes itself in the lying down position. And then do the opposite a few times. So when you take the lower back into the floor and you push through the feet, take your chin closer to your chest. And when you arch the back a little and you let the lower back come away from the floor and you pull with the feet, let the chin go away. And feel in both of those situations, go slow, feel how it changes the shape of this channel inside. So we're making some experiments to influence this inner shape, or how the spine is. So feel when you take the lower back back and you take the chin towards your chest, does that help the space inside the throat or not? Do you feel more continuity through your spine or not? Of course, it depends on what you usually do with yourself, everything with the normal habits. And then when you arch the lower back and you take your chin away, how does that change the space inside the throat? This is actually the posture, of course, of some people, that they do something with the head that influences the space inside. And then go back to the habitual way of doing it a few times, or the so to say, more ordinary, normal way of doing it. So you take the weight down towards your tailbone, and the chin comes closer to the chest, and you push with the feet, the lower back going into the floor, the chin going away. And feel if the previous variation has had an influence. Is it easier to feel some kind of continuity between the throat, between the upper spine and the rest of you? And if that space inside is changing, how do you feel it in your skull a little bit differently, in your head a little bit differently? And keep on doing that very simple movement and start to become aware now of the influence it has on your mouth, on the relationship between your upper and your lower jaw. And feel if there's any tendency for the mouth to open at a certain point, or for the teeth to come closer together at a certain point. And go ahead and accentuate that. So when would you feel that the mouth would open or close? And think of the work we did yesterday with the jaw. So the whole skull moving away from the lower jaw. When the pelvis is going toward the tailbone, the head rocks in a certain way and the mouth tends to close, and when you push upward, the upper and the lower tend to come apart. Go ahead and just put your fingers on your chin, your fingers of your right hand, and your left hand on your forehead, and accentuate that a little bit. So as you push, make the upward push and the lower back goes into the floor, just take the skull and the lower jaw away from each other a little bit. And then as you go the other way, close the skull toward the lower jaw. Actually, let's do it like this. Fix your lower jaw, keep it from moving, and when you take the push upward, just take the whole skull away from the lower jaw. Think of the hinge in back as well. and then close it back as you go towards 6 o'clock. So make that differentiation of the movement of the upper and the lower jaw and put it together with the 12 and the 6. If you need to stop the 12 and 6 to find it, good. Don't hold the belly. All right, rest a little bit. Even just this little work with the jaw, feel if it influenced the breath in any way. What you feel in the inside of your spine. Come back, bend the knees, come back to the 12 and the 6. With the mouth closed, make the humming again. Keep the mouth closed this time. Make the humming, just the 12 and the 6. And again, feel the vibrations in your face, in your chest, in your anywhere you can feel them. Gathering and multiplying. In your cheekbones. If there's more continuity in the boundary of the throat, try a few times with the opening of the mouth, let the sound out. When you let the sound out, maybe you can feel whether it's symmetrical or asymmetrical. Means, do you have the same opening of the mouth on the right and the left side, or do you have more sound coming out one side of the mouth than the other? Feeling the space inside your mouth as well. It's really interesting. You can sometimes feel that you have more sound coming out one side of the face or the other side of the face. Maybe you can pay attention to that. Now stop that a minute, stay with the knees bent. And this time we'll do something we didn't do yesterday in the lesson of the jaw, but open the, well, we did it indirectly, but open the lower jaw with your fingers. And a few times take it right and left, as we did, with it not just the lower position, not bringing it forward for the moment. So just take the lower jaw right and left. And feel if you open your mouth equally on both sides. Means, is the movement of the lower jaw symmetrical, and is it symmetrical relative to the, however your skull is sitting on your lower jaw? Keep your breathing free. And then fix your lower jaw and put your right hand on your forehead. And roll your skull right and left relative to the fixed lower jaw. So in other words, differentiate the movement of the skull from the movement of the lower jaw, which means some kind of differentiation, different use of these muscles around your nose, around your cheeks, which for some people who never open their mouth when they talk, these muscles are like working very, very hard to do nothing. So might be a new sensation there. Fix the lower jaw, open the mouth, and roll the head right and left. You can change over the hands that do the rolling of the head, or you're moving both. It doesn't, because you're trying to make the biggest possible movement. And if you go a little further, you can dislocate your jaw. You think, slowly, slowly, do less. You're not doing what we're saying. Okay, laughing's good. It's good for the diaphragm. Now, slowly. Don't let your lower jaw move. Fix it. So that means the movement of the skull isn't maybe going to be as big. That's better. You feel the eyes go with the skull, don't they? A little bit. All right. Rest a minute. So rather a bit of a trip to the moon, that movement, isn't it? Talk about novelty. It's a novel sensation. Feel what you feel in your face. In your breathing. And again, inside the throat, inside your mouth. Now, bend your knees again. And this time, very delicately, because remember, less effort, more sensitivity, very delicately, put the hands put one hand on your chin and one hand on your forehead. And now you take the chin to the left and the skull to the right. The skull is really the upper jaw. And then the chin to the right and the skull to the left. Delicate, delicate. So trying to differentiate the musculature of the lower and the upper jaw. And taking, of course, those two parts of the skull, well, the skull relative to the lower jaw, maybe in non-habitual directions from usual. Every bias is a bias through the entire self. You can even feel, all right, that's all right. Now, leave that a moment, come back to put your arms down, come back to the rocking of the 12 and the 6. And feel that you don't have to really open the mouth or close it, but that you don't, maybe you have a few less parasitic contractions in the face, around the mouth or eyes. If there's something even clearer now about the rocking of the head in relation to the pelvis or the space inside, you can feel it going from the throat all the way. Really, if you follow the cervical, the front of the spine far enough up, you come to the roof of the mouth. We don't usually think of it like that at all, but it is. That space inside the throat leads into the space inside the mouth. So how do you sense that now? And then with the mouth closed, make the humming again. And feel if there's more vibration inside your mouth or your face or your chest. more uniform throughout. And then when you're ready, just keep on making the 12 and 6 o'clock and make the hum, open the mouth and let the sound come out. You have to feel where the tongue needs to be, so how to have the tongue resting so that when you open the mouth, it doesn't get going. Feel if there's a little bit more variety in the pitch, in the tone. Good, and come sit up. Is it getting any more possible to imagine this inner space inside a little bit? Maybe. Sit with the soles of your feet together. Put your hands behind. And now do the movement you know so well. But it's interesting. How did you know we were going to put the hands forward? That's so interesting. I find that really interesting because the last time everybody put their hands almost forward. And I did that this morning too when I was working with it. That's so interesting. See, it is just all in the, we do just need to suck it out of the universe. It's all there. We work much too hard to get stuff. Just everybody did that. I find that really interesting. Because, I mean, you wouldn't know, but the very last time, maybe you don't remember, the last time we did the head circles, I said, put the fingers pointing backward. And then this morning, I thought, for this movement, they really need to be forward. And everybody just did it. So I guess I don't really need to talk anymore. You can just read my thoughts. Huh? And I can save my voice. Okay, so in this position with the soles of the feet together and the fingers facing forward, take the 12 and the 6, but take it in such a way that you're trying to generate the force, not what we did whenever. Was it just yesterday? God, seems like years. But not the arching of the spine backward, not throwing the head backward, but like as if toward the top of the head, getting taller as you take the pelvis forward, and then smaller as you go the other way. So kind of taller and smaller. And the reason, and you'll feel, and you can try both ways. If you put the hands the other way, it's more about the arching, isn't it? It's more about throwing the head back. And with the hands forward, you can feel the taller, like the transmission of force up through this channel that we're constructing toward the top of the head. And then let the mouth open as you get taller. And close as you get smaller. And all the time kind of feeling the inner space. And then try the hum in this position. Sense the resonance, sense the vibration. Not throwing the head back, just feeling the whole continuity, the mouth opening, the sound coming out, closing. And do something that I rarely find happening in Australia, which is when, I'm going to make some bad jokes about it. When you open the mouth and you let the sound out, let it go forward in space. I told you the Swedes they go, yeah, it's good to see you. They open their mouth and they put their sound back, okay? And some of you have a little tendency to do that too. So let it go. Might not be quite ready for this, but you will be by the end. Think that you open the mouth. Okay, just actually leave the rocking now. Just sit for a moment. You can cross your legs. You can do whatever you want. Just sit. Lean on your hands. Don't lean on your hands. Just make the humming. You can close your eyes. Think that the vibrations are going forward out into the space. And how much the mouth has to open in order for that to happen. Good. Good. Lie on your back and rest. Although you're going to be more alert just from that little bit probably. But these vibrations of sound, I actually had a wonderful chance to have a discussion with Kristen Linklater once, several years ago. I was somewhere, driving her somewhere, and anyway, about the effect that these vibrations have on us. I'll say more about it later, but they have a tonifying, they tonify something inside. They revitalize something inside. We'll see. By the end of the week, you'll be much less, I predict by tomorrow, you'll be much, much less tired when we're finished. Now, just a few times, again, with the 12 and 6 or without the 12 and 6, but lying on the back with the legs long, with the knees bent, any way you want to do it. Just the humming first with the mouth closed. And feeling where you feel the vibrations. And also there's this, maybe to point out, I think it's happening more now in the room, but if you don't push it for the length of the sound, there's this natural moment where the breath replaces by itself. So you just make an easy and you don't have to breathe in. If you let the sound out and you breathe out, 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 the breath replaces. Be aware of that moment where it changes from the sound out. There's a minute millisecond of a pause, and then the breath comes in, but you don't do it. This is part of an example of something reflexive. So just let the and feel what happens in your belly when the breath comes in. Try not to breathe in on purpose. See how the breath can replace. Notice the moment you do that, the sound in the room and yourself became much more even. Good. And stop. Open your eyes. Bend your knees. Sit up. Stand up. Now in standing, you make the not trying to make a big sound, a special sound, but feeling if this channel for sound is supporting you in the standing. Feeling the legs under you, feeling where the top of your head is. You can have your eyes closed. Same thing we did on the floor, feeling the vibrations in your face. If it's symmetrical on the two sides of the face, becoming aware of the difference, you can do something internally to make it more similar on the two sides of the mouth, the face. And then you, with the eyes open or closed, whatever you like, in standing, you say hum, mum, 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 mum. Hum, mum, 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 mum. And what happens in that moment where you transition from the sound with the mouth closed to the sound with the mouth open? Do you do something with yourself that's not needed? Now more like a conversation, hum, ma, ma, ma. Hum, ma, ma, ma. What happens when you want to communicate the hum, ma, ma, ma? Hum, ma, ma, ma. Hum, ma, ma, ma. Play a little bit with the pitch. Ask a question, hum, ma, ma, ma. Make a statement, hum, ma, ma, ma. All right, open your eyes, good. Walk around. Now, don't worry about the expressiveness right now. Let's just come back to the, now see if we can walk and talk at the same time. I saw Kristen Linklater years ago give an incredible talk, and she was doing all this stuff with her voice and moving around, and she said, people seem to be surprised that I can walk and talk at the same time, so we'll take it up a notch. So now you find out in walking, when you go from the hum to the ma, and and do you allow the sound to go forward in space, or do you pull it back? What do? We're just studying our habits. Because if we know what we do, we can do what we want. Now see if you can say the hum, ma, ma, ma. How far through the room can the ma go without taking your head forward, without squeezing your lips, without bringing your jaw forward? Like you're going to hit a wall or a pillar, but keeping the top of the head toward the ceiling. All right. Give you another few seconds. Without messing. All right, what do you do? What do you do? You got some habits going there? All right, that's the first painful awareness. Okay, let's stop. We'll talk more about the habits. I know I've been down this road. You find out things that you prefer not to know. Okay, but that's the beginning of freedom. All right. 5 minutes and we do some other Linklater stuff before lunch. Something fun or not. 5-minute pause for, yeah, we're going to have to really, this work makes you go to the bathroom all the time because you're liberating. We're going to be, oh, maybe I don't have to record this. But it does.